When we are putting information out there as studio owners, I think we should be very cognizant about how we are showcasing what the method can do.
Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange.
Today, we're going to be talking about Pilates as a performance. Now, this is an interesting one, I think, because right now, Pilates is having a boom, at least in our area, and we're seeing a lot of very new people coming into our studio based on kind of what's happening in the social media world. So TikTok and Instagram, and we're getting an influx of new, younger generation that would like to come to Pilates, which is fantastic. Because the way that they are introduced to the Pilates method, which is through social media and a very aesthetic form of social media, TikTok and Instagram namely, I feel like this crowd is consuming information about Pilates, and it is really about a performance, okay? So when we are putting information out there as studio owners, I think we should be very cognizant about how we are showcasing what the method can do and what that looks like. I understand things need to be aesthetic when we put out a good advertisement, we put out that information, how we relate to people. But I think what is sometimes happening now is that there's so much of a focus on how things are looking, the fancy exercises, the advanced exercise, the super advanced exercises, that clients are coming in. It's not just in our studio, this is all over the place. And they're thinking that it's going to be only for the gram, let's say, or it's about how it looks like. And we know as teachers, it's not about how it looks like, it's about how it feels in the body and what we're trying to achieve with it. I think that we all think that same way. So let's just unpack this, because I think there's subtle ways that we can, as teachers, support our clients to dig deeper into the method and not just stay at this superficial level. Okay, so one of the things that I've been thinking about is, for me and for our studio, all the methods that we teach, it's a vehicle for us. It's a way to go further in your life. It's a functional way of getting the exercise requirements in, building more strength, building more mobility. Maybe hopefully at the end, your sleep quality is better because you're building more confidence in what that experience is in your body. Maybe your relationship with yourself gets better, relationship with other people get better. So I am not interested in Pilates or yoga or whatever as a performance, even though my studio name is Performance Fit Pilates. But it's not Performance Pilates, it's Performance Fit Pilates. We're using the method to be fit for other parts in our life. That's what we get. Your life is the performance. This little hour that you do once a week, or if you're lucky, once a day for yourself, is not the big performance. It's not the end all of the day. Do you know what I mean a little bit? So how do we support that as teachers? And one thing that I have to say is, well, I have many things to say, but one major aspect of this is the types of corrections that we give. Are they aesthetic-based corrections, or are they corrections and verbal cues and tactile, whatever cueing method you want to use, are they cues that help them go deeper? Does it matter where your pinky finger is? No. Does it matter if it feels comfortable in your body? Yes. Does it matter if you look pretty when you go over to a side sit-up, whatever you want to call it? Does it matter if your shoulders are down right there? No. Does it matter that you have a full range of motion and that you're going at capacity? Absolutely. So that's what I'm talking about, is choosing to support our clients in a way that gets the maximum out of their body, the full range, the full strength capacity. Even though, for example, like if you're working on a piece of equipment and the recommended spring settings is 1 spring, say we're on maybe you're working with Stop Pilates equipment and it's a recommended 1 red spring, and the client can push the carriage with 3 reds. Why would you stop at 1? Stopping at a less spring setting so it looks pretty and stays within these recommended areas doesn't necessarily push the client far enough that they can build the strength that they're actually looking for. And when we're talking about building strength isn't pretty. It's not. Like, it has to be uncomfortable. We have to go far enough into a place where we're almost completely at capacity. Maybe we're stopping a couple reps before that end. There's different research that's out there of how far we're going to go, but it's got to be intense. And unless you're a trained dancer, like, intensity will show up on the face. It's not that you could go through a Pilates class and have like a light smile on the lips the entire time. Of course, we're looking for ease and of course we're looking for efficiency. But if we're really taking the method and we're saying, okay, I'm going to help you live better and live longer, then pretty is not where we want to go. Pilates is a method that we use to help them get further. So if we're talking about like a dance class and they're training to be a professional dancer, so we are assuming that there's going to be an audience that's in front of them. And here's the difference, right? So an audience is there and they're going to be looking for, how does the audience relate to the dancer? Do they feel those same emotions that the dancer is trying to emote? And the way that happens is because we're taking this aesthetic art form and we are transporting those emotions. And the way that the dance does that is that we are so controlled with our body that we are making choices during the performance of how can we convey an emotion for the audience. And then that's where that reciprocity is from the stage into the audience. That's what makes that magical.
When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. Gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers.
Pilates doesn't have an audience. Pilates is a method for you, yourself, and how it feels in your body. The teacher is there to give an outside perspective of how can we make it more, like I said before, how can we make it more efficient? How can you go a little bit further? So things like bringing your shoulders down might not be the best use of our words. That might not be the best use of our limited time with those clients. right? Because a lot of our clients they're not coming in. We're not doing an 8-hour workday with them. We're doing, if we're lucky, like I said, if we're very lucky, maybe 3 times a week with our clients. Let's go back into this comparison just because you know that I'm a dancer. So this is the material that I work with. Even if we take dance as a comparison, dance and Pilates, and we say, okay, well, dance and Pilates have shapes that we're trying to create, movement shapes, and a shape that is, the body is somewhere in space. Okay, so let's go from there. And that's how we learn how to create those shapes and what that movement is going to look like. Okay, fine. So there is a similarity there. The difference between a good dancer and a great dancer is not the shape. It's how the shape works on their body, how that movement, that understanding of how the shape works on that individual body. Is it authentic? Does it feel natural? Does it feel effortless? Okay. And that's also a big difference between Pilates and dance, is that in dance, we're always looking to be more effortless, to look, that dance has a lot of effort, to create the illusion of effortlessness. And that takes hundreds of thousands of hours of training to do that. And I think there's a misconception, because there's so many dancers that become teachers, perhaps, or people that are watching Pilates from the outside, they are thinking that the Pilates method is then that same level of effortlessness. And it is not. It shouldn't be. Pilates has to be effortful in order to be effective, in my opinion. So while I do think that when we get to a certain level of however many hundreds of hours of Pilates practice, that yes, it does become easier on the body because we understand what those shapes are, those moving shapes are, we understand the effort that's needed to create the movement. But it also means that at a certain point in your practice, the Pilates practice in itself is no longer going to be serving you. You're going to have to do more weight. You're going to have to add some other level of challenge, because just if we're talking about a fitness, like staying fit and pushing those boundaries of what it could be in your body, then keeping the status quo is not going to be serving you, right? And we're talking about like the super advanced level. It's the same thing with yoga, right? When you get to let's take Ashtanga yoga. You finish the first series, the primary series, and that was, that's effortful for a long time. And then it's no longer. And then you go to the next series, second series, which is also, that's pretty, if you haven't seen these series, look them up. They're pretty crazy. And then at some point that becomes easy. And then you go to the next series. There's always a challenge that goes farther and further. And that's what the Pilates method should also be like. It's pushing and pushing. It has to be hard. And so if we're focusing as teachers on these little, in German, there's a great word, pingelish. I don't know what the correct translation is right now, but it's these like little itty bitty things. Instead of looking at the big overall picture, I think we're doing our students a disservice. And I think that comes from us as the teacher. Like if they're a newbie to the Pilates method, they don't know any better. And it's our job to bring them that information of that challenge. Also what the values are that you want to convey. So if you are a teacher that really would like to keep it at the aesthetic level, I mean, that is your choice. Absolutely. And there may be clients that follow you because of that, because it looks very pretty. I'm not saying that you can't do that. You absolutely may do that. But that's not what our focus is. That's not what Christian and I do in our studio. That's also not how I train my teachers that work for me. We're always looking for understanding what the movement is and how can it be better fit to the body that's in front of us. So we're not creating the shape. We're trying to get the body to understand how it is in the movement. How can we make it efficient, challenging, full range, a place that's emotionally and psychologically also understanding what those needs are. Do we need to have a sense of accomplishment today, or can we push that boundary just a little bit further to get into that uncomfortable place? And I think that's where it gets really interesting for us. I think that's what keeps us as teachers in it for the long run, because it's not, at a certain point, you're going to get bored. If you are teaching your 1,000th client how to do the 100 again, and like, it's at a certain point, like, you can't hear yourself say the same thing over and over and over and do these many little things. It's gotta be deeper than that. And when we're at that place where we're looking for that next level of understanding the method in our own bodies, but really transporting what that goodness is, the real deep stuff, to our clients, that's what keeps it interesting for the next decade of teaching. I think I'm in my, I don't know how many, 2.5 decades. I don't know. It's a long time, but that's where the good stuff is. That's why I'm still in the game. That's why we're doing this podcast, because I think that there is so much more for our clients, but also for us as the teacher. It's so good when we hit those magical moments with our clients, when they come in and they say, hey, look, I applied for this new job and I owe it to you. And you're like, how do you owe this new job to me? Well, it's not about the job. It's because I feel so good in my body. I feel so confident. I've been stretching myself. I've been going for things that I didn't know that I could do ever before. That's the stuff it carries through in the rest of their lives when we're taking this gorgeous method and we're saying, all right, let's do this. Let's go that level further. I hope that makes sense, at least the way that I'm thinking about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Reach out to me. Maybe you have a completely different view. I want to hear about it. Like, I think that's the exciting stuff. I do want to hear from you. Send me an email, reach out to me on Insta. Let's chat it out. I mean, I'll even invite you on. Let's talk. Have a beautiful day and a happy week teaching. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You could also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.